Hi fellow Webflowers, welcome to the second part of this multi-step advanced Webflow tutorial. We will start with the style guide for this website because it's a best practice when you start a new project that you begin with a style guide, because a style guide covers all your standardized classes for typography, colors, buttons, forms, containers, grids, and everything else you will need for a project. Not only what you will need now for a project, but also stuff you will need in the future for a project, or at least stuff you will probably need on each website one day. So without further ado, let's jump on my screen and I will walk you through the style guide I've set up for this project. So here we are on the style guide, and this style guide is based on our utility framework. I always call it a utility framework. It's called Edex Flow. You can have a closer look at it. The link will be in the description below the video. It's a style guide that you can find for Webflow and for Figma. Both are linked here. You can see the Figma template. Let's have a little look at it. Wow, already 800 people copied it. Didn't have a look at this number for a long time. Yeah, once you've copied that file to your Figma account, you can see start here. You can read a description here. You find an Webflow tutorial. We have some kind of little documentation in Notion setup, and you can also clone the Webflow style guide. And here's a sample page that was built with this initial styles. It comes along, but of course it's made to change it to your project style. But it covers most important stuff. It covers all headline styles from display size to H6. It covers different sizes of body copy from X large to X small. And it comes with a variation of colors, and you can extend all of those. I mean, if you have less colors, you can use less colors. If you have more, you can extend it to more colors. And also, with different lighten or dark versions of your colors. You can set up all your buttons here. You can set up your forms. You can work with different container sizes if you want to. And by the way, these container sizes, they match exactly with the grid we have in this Figma file. So you can see you can also work with a classic 12-column grid in your design. And yeah, the most important is this spacing system. This is a lot of utility classes you can use within your project to use all the vertical margins and paddings within your project. So this is something you don't need to change. I would leave it as it is. I'm using it myself in each project, and I never changed that. And some people were asking, why do you only cover vertical classes, so top and bottom? Because in a design, it's important to have a vertical rhythm in your spacings, but horizontal spacings, like, where's my mouse? Horizontal spacings, like the spacing between these three images, that's most of the time pretty custom. Like here, you see, it doesn't need to be necessary on the grid. It's more about the content. And yeah, it wouldn't really make sense to extend this utility classes with horizontal spacing classes, because our experience is most of the time it's too custom, those spaces. And yeah, we recommend to use custom classes for that, or just give spacings on the elements itself. Exactly. So that's the Figma version of the Edex Flow style guide. It's also linked in the description of the video. And yeah, if you go back, if you go back now to Webflow, let's get back to our project. You can see it's pretty much the same. You have all the same elements, but I've I've changed all the typography, I've changed all the colors and everything, adapted it to what we need. And yeah, let's get through it. You can also see the class names. The class name for this display font is called isDisplay, and in Figma you can also see we also have isDisplay here, but the style is also called isDisplay. So that's pretty powerful if you get a design that's based already in Figma is based on Edex Flow, because yeah, you can just select this headline and see, okay, it's isDisplay, and you directly know what class you need to use in Webflow. You can measure the spacing, you can see 24, and you know you have to use the class margin or bottom, whatever you prefer. But you have to use this is margin B, actually, sorry. Is margin B24 for 24 pixels. We use EM values for the spacings, so they scale with the screen size. So, but you see 24 pixels, use is margin B24, and that's all you need to do. So let's jump into the file. So first thing I did, of course, was changing the fonts. And if you go to the project settings, you can see here is the fonts. And we have used Clash Display and Source Sans Pro. Both fonts are free, and Clash Display, we got it from this nice website, FontShare. This is where you can download it for desktop and web both. And yeah, we used it in Figma, and we've uploaded the WAF 2 and only WAF. Yeah, it's recommended to use both because you can see here 500 medium and 500 medium. The WAF file has 19,000 KIB, and the WAF 2 has 14,900. The compression of WAF 2 is better, but the compatibility of WAF is better. So it's recommended to use both. So in case somebody with an old browser gets to your website, the fonts will also work. So just upload them both, and the settings can stay on swap, so that's no problem. And the second font we were using was Source Sans Pro. Yeah, that was from Google. So you can download it and get it here directly from Google. It's a nice font in terms of readability. So that's pretty good for body copy. Exactly, yeah. So these are the two fonts I was using for this design. That was actually the first setting I did. I uploaded the fonts, and yeah, once you upload it and save them, you can see here's the isDisplay. You can choose them here. But as you know, that's an advanced tutorial, so I'm not getting too much into details here. How to install and use a font. But yeah, that's the display size. And many times people ask why I'm mixing EM and REM values. I mean, there are a lot of opinions out there in the web, and sometimes people are more into accessibility and sometimes people are more into design. I tend to be more into design, but of course I think about accessibility too. And from my opinion and experience, font sizes like this isDisplay. It's so huge, the user doesn't need to make it bigger anymore. It's big enough, yeah. So for large font sizes like isDisplay, is H1, I think also is H2. Yeah, only from H5 and H6 I'm switching to REM, because they're getting so slow that I think it makes sense that the user can override the font size with his settings. If it would get bigger or smaller, this layout would break, you know? This layout should stay consistent, and I think everybody can read it. And you see, when you scale down the screen size, the font size, it scales perfectly with the screen size or the viewport size. Yeah. So for me, that's important here. That's why I'm using EM and not REM. Okay, let's get back to the style guide. So I've set it up, all the typography settings here. All of them are Clash Display and 500 medium. Yeah, and you can see when I go back to the design, here's the fonts I've set up. Yeah, it's already is display. If you go here, the display font size is 109. So 109 divided by 16 EM is exactly that value. Yeah, you can make it more pretty by deleting the 125 at the end, but I don't care. Let's leave it like that. Then it's pretty exact. And that's how I went through this design to set up the style guide. You can also see we have a line height of 100%. So here the line height is just on 1, not on a percentage or something like this, just a 1. You could also use a percentage if you want to, and give it 100%. It would be the same result, but yeah, that's the default. Let's stay with the default. And yeah, I did that for all heading classes and the body copy. I can show it again on, let's say, is text medium, because this is used a lot. Has a different font. It's Sans Sans Pro. It's 400 normal, and you can see that's orange. So this actually comes from the body. Let's set up on the body. You can see here. Here's the font selected, the ones that we've uploaded at the beginning. And if you go back to this class, you can see it's 1.125 rem. Yeah, this one is now rem, so the user can change his font size preferences, and it has a height of 1.6. It's the same here. So this is the medium exactly. So it's 18 pixel and 140%. Probably I've changed it later on a little bit, but 18 divided by 16 EM, you can see it's this 1.125, and I leave it like that because probably I've changed it during developing the site. Yeah. And here you can find I made a test text field for myself. It's not a rich text field. I just put it a lot of H1, H2, and here TXT large, TXT medium, and so on. Because just setting up the font sizes here is a little bit abstract. You need to see them in context. You need to see some real text, or at least some lorem ipsum text, to see if all the proportions work. And you can see I did that here. You can actually delete it later on, but I've left it to show it to you. And you can see, yeah, it works. We have a nice contrast because the body color is a little bit darker than the headline color, and it's also a different font. So yeah, we have a nice visual hierarchy here, and from my point of view, this works quite fine. So these are some helper classes that come from Edex Flow. I didn't change them. It's just classes so you can make text italic or bold or normal or whatever, all caps. Sometimes you need that. And here's some different list styles. Here's a rich text field. Actually, this rich text field, I just see it's not styled because I'm not using it on the landing page, but I would style it if it is a customer project, because maybe they decide later on, we need a block, and in the block they will for sure use the rich text field, so they should have a styled rich text field. But if you only do a landing page like this, you don't really need to do it. And you can see I've just used base colors here in the style guide. But I went through the design again. I took the color from here and created this class and give it this color. I also called it salmon. I think it looks like salmon to me, this color. And I did it for text as well as for background color, because often enough you need color for text and for background. So you find both here in this document. That's the text one, actually. Yeah. I did it with all the colors. Then, actually, I forgot to update the buttons in here. You can see that is not the right button style. Sorry for myself. Not 100% prepared, but yeah, it's a live build. So that's the default button style from Edex Flow, but you can see actually that the button should look like this. Let's copy it. And let's replace it. Yep, that's already this right container. Here we go. So here's the right button, and also the button class is different. So let's change it here. It's just BTN. But I also have a secondary button, or at least a different button style. You can see here the text is yellow, and here the text is blue. Let's copy that as well. And paste it to the style guide. It's very important to keep it's very important to set up the style guide at the beginning of the project, and while you're working through the project, also to update your style guide when you make changes, or maybe add some light and dark versions of your color and everything like that, because it all belongs to the style guide and it should all be in the style guide. So yeah, you can see this is now blue text on blue background. We can change the color here. It is BG cream. Now it's visible. Okay. Here's some helper classes for the buttons. Here's some forms. I didn't update these forms. I know I pray it and I don't do it myself. Shame on me. But yeah, you should update the styles for these forms so they fit your project. And yeah, here the container with this. They are just the defaults. I didn't change them. And here is the grid. I didn't change them because it is all helper classes that help you build the website faster. So you don't really need to change them. At least maybe only if you want different default spacings between this grid cells. But otherwise you don't need to change this. And yeah, here's all the spacing classes. You don't need to change them as well. And yeah, here comes some more helper classes. If you want to work with special aspect ratios on images, for example, or here's some wrapper classes. To be honest, I don't use them really, so you can, but you don't need to. Most of the time I use custom classes for that. And yeah, these ones I use a lot. If you want to be something displayed on desktop, you can give it isD visible. And on the other hand, you maybe want it to be hidden from tablet and downwards, then you also added isT hidden, and so on. D stands for desktop, T for tablet, L for landscape, P for portrait. So according to this breakpoints here. Yeah, that's the style guide and how it was set up. One more very important thing is, of course, how I set up the font sizes so they scale with the project. And that's the next thing we are going to talk about now. So let's get to our landing page to have this as an example, if you go here, you can also see that I have all custom code here in a component. And if you press on Mac Option Enter at once, you create this, you open this component and you can make global changes to this component. And if you press Option Enter again, you can open this code editor, because I don't know why Webflow changed it, but it's going on my nerves. So if somebody of you sees that, hi, please change that back. Because now if this is a component and you click here on edit components, and here the code editor doesn't open anymore. You have to go to the settings and click here on open code editor. Don't know why. Maybe people made a lot of mistakes with it or break their sites because it was too easy to get in there, and they hide it for only for professionals to find it. I don't know, but to all professionals of you that are want to have a shortcut, use Option and Enter on your keyboard and press it 2 times to get in there. Sorry, I don't have Windows, so I don't know the keyboard combination on Windows, but I'm sure you can find it if you Google it. So here I put all the custom CSS, and here's also already a bunch of custom CSS that comes with Edex Flow. And as long as you are not changing the design width or the container width from Edex Flow, you don't need to make any changes here. But let's go through it in theory. So if you go back to the design, you can now see here that the design has a width of 1440 pixels, and that's an important value. And if you then go to Wizardry Technique, pretty cool tool from Timothy Ricks, you can get this CSS code snippet for your project. So, and it's pretty straightforward. Here it asks you for the design width. It's 1440 pixels, as we just found out. And you can use this max width, and I would recommend it because in most kind of project it makes sense. And I decided to go with 1440 pixels as a max width. I want the proportional scale type because it's easiest to work with. It's most reliable in terms of design precision. If you have a project where accessibility is more important, you should use this this proportional scaling because you have settings here. But for this project, I've chosen the proportional scaling. And you can see while I make the changes here, it also changes the content on this size. And I also wanted the proportional scaling to have a min width. So you can see if I activate this min width, it adds this last part of it to it. And that says that on each screen with a max, or on a device with a max width of 991 pixels, the body font size should be this pixel value. And it also gives the container a max width. I got rid of that in the code because I don't need it. You will see later. And here it tells also on screens with a min width of 1440 pixels. So everything that's larger than 1440 pixels, it gives the body a font size of 16 pixels. So it doesn't grow any more proportional to the viewport size. And everything between, so between 1440 pixels and 991 pixels, the body has a font size of this viewport width value. You can see this is viewport width and this is pixel here and there. And that's the reason the viewport width value here is the reason why the design, or why the font sizes. Come on. Hello. Doesn't work. No? No? Yeah, now. That's the reason why the font sizes, have a look at the headline, why they scale up and down proportional to the viewport size without any jumps. So that's the way you do it if you need some real design precision. And you can see also, let's get back into preview mode again. You can see at 440 pixels here it stops scaling. The font size stops scaling. And now it scales down again. So that's why I use a max width here, because I don't want the font sizes to get super huge, super large on large screens. They should stay in proportion and have a max width. Exactly. And the same if you get down to tablet. You see now it doesn't scale proportionally anymore. Now it has some breakpoint jumps. But yeah, that's the way you can set it up. So the code that gets generated here, you can also find it here in this file, very much at the top. It's exactly the same. The only thing I took out is the max container width, because we work with a different container system in Edex Flow. If you go back to the style guide, you can see that we have different containers. So for example, this 12 column container here is a container called 12. So all those are container classes. This is a container called 10, 8, and 6. And you can see all the different classes for this. They all come with a max width. And yeah, we have all this different container widths because that's how you can change the max width of a content to this 12 column layout actually. So for example, this headline, creatives get paid when the job is done. You don't need to put it in a full width container, so a container that covers 12 columns. You can, as you can see, you can put it in a container that only covers 10 columns. So that's, or this one, this can stay in a container with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. So in this case, you would choose this container for it. Yeah, that's the way you can handle that. So yeah, that's the walkthrough through the style guide I've set up for this project. So in the next video lesson, we will finally start building this page, and we will start with the navigation. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed yet, not to miss any of the next videos. And I see you in the next video. Bye bye.